Hello everyone, here we are solving more equations on section 2.4. And this is just a general strategy, so it tells you what to do whenever you start to solve an equation. Some of these are not going to apply because you only need to do these, like step 1, declare fractions if there are fractions, and then use distributive property for parentheses, and you may or may not need to do that. Simplify each side of the equation. So if you're confused when you're solving equations, this would be a good thing to have just in front of you, so you're like, okay, here's what I do first. All right, so we have to clear parentheses on this one, and this is like distributing a -1. So I'm going to take -1 times 5x and -1 times -10, so that's a +10. Equals 5x. Now to solve this, since I have a variable and a constant term on the left, I'm going to go ahead and add the 5x to both sides. And then we have 10 equals 10x. And you always divide then, if you have an integer here. If it's a fraction, we may do something else. And so x equals 1. So here we have fractions, and we need to multiply to clear the fractions by the LCD. Well, in this case, the LCD is easy because the only denominator we have is 5. So I'm going to multiply each term by 5, and this is really what's happening. I'm multiplying by 5 over 1. Now, normally I don't write it this way. I'm just kind of showing you when you're clearing fractions because that's often a concept that students struggle with. So you can look at this different ways. If I multiply straight across, I get 20 over 5, which is 4, and that's a 4x. On this one, that's 40 divided by 5, so that's -8. And then this is -80 divided by 5, or really, right, 5, and the 5's cancel out, and I just get -16. So to solve for the x, then I'm going to add 8 on both sides, divide by 4, and my solution to this equation is -2. Now you can actually go back and check this, but in this kind of equation you might want to use your calculator for that because you know you're working with these fractions. This is another type of fraction equation, and once again our denominator is 5, the only one we have, so we're going to multiply every single part of this, all the terms, by 5. So on this side, when I multiply by 5, I'm going to eliminate this denominator, right? That 5 goes into 5 one time. So now I just have 3 times y plus 3. And on the other side, I'm going to multiply 2y by 5, so that's a 10y. 6 times 5, so that's plus 30. Now I clear the parentheses by distributing the 3, so that's 3y plus 9 equals 10y plus 30. Now I need variables on one side, numbers on the other. So I'm going to subtract 10y on both sides. That's -7y plus 9 equals 30. I'm going to subtract 9 on both sides, and then I'm just going to go up here because I've kind of run out of space. And I have -7y equals a +21 because I take 30 minus 9. Then we're going to divide by -7 on both sides, and y equals -3. Next equation, and we have fractions again. Now this time we have two different ones, a 2 and a 4, but 2 goes into 4, so we can use 4 as our LCD on this, our least common denominator. And now we're using that just to get rid of the fractions. So I multiply every term times 4. So that means I'm going to distribute the 4 where I wrote the parentheses on this. So I'm going to take 5 halves times 4. You can look at it different ways. 4 times 5 is 20. 20 divided by 2 is 10, so that's a 10x. 4 times -1 would be -4. And then on the other side, I'm just going to have a 4x plus 1, right, because 4 goes into 4 one time. Or 1/4 times 4 makes a whole. I think that probably makes sense to most of you. So I'm going to subtract a 4x to get my variables on one side. I'm going to add 4 to both sides of the equation. So now I have 6x equals 5. Divide by 6 on both sides to solve, and my solution this time is 5/6. All right, so I think I'm going to stop this recording this time, and we'll start on this equation on the next lesson. Bye, everyone.